Alright, this card had a lot of fun moments. We had nut shots, we had eye pokes, we had retirements, we had flashy KOs, and very bad commentary. Let's get into the best and worst of it all right now. Alright, this one was okay. I picked it to go over 2.5, and I was about 12 seconds from calling this correctly. I really didn't like this matchup in the first place. I felt like it was being made to make Maverick look good, and they kind of succeeded in this. One problem that I noticed with her game is that while CACHOEIRA is a really bad wrestler, Maverick had this really bad habit of trying to shoot takedowns from halfway across the octagon, and this was making it easier for CACHOEIRA to defend the takedowns. Maverick won every round. In the first round, she won it back and having fence control time, and in the second, she was mixing up strikes well and managed to get a takedown in the end. But it was the pressure in the third that finally told when Miranda got her down earlier and had more time to work on top. Got north-south, then eventually a full mount where she snatched a limb and got the sub. Was a little unlucky in this one not to get the plus 2.5. It literally was 9 seconds away from doing that. And not even a wardrobe malfunction could make this one exciting. Miranda won. Is she good? I don't know. She has a lot of holes. Sounded dirty there. I shouldn't have said it that way. Alright, this one wasn't surprising at all. It was going how we expected until suddenly it wasn't. In the first round, Jedi looked great. He was picking the more impactful shots. He was catching Medic and popping his head back. SEMELSBURGER was favoring the right hand a lot more, and Medic was favoring the left. So as you can imagine with the dynamics of that, when both men were coming in, they were both kind of catching each other. I just thought that Matthew had the better moments in that. Second round, there was a little bit more of the same. Both men were trading. I felt that while both men were kind of fired up, again, Matthew had more of the volume. And for me, he was clearly like 2 rounds up. And I think Medic knew that going into the third round. So anyway, they both came out of a little bit of energy. I think Matthew got a little bit complacent, thought he had the easy win. And then just when he took his eye off the prize and thought he was cruising, he got spinning back-fisted. I thought it mostly caught the guard, but he got dropped and then jumped on. Was this an early stoppage? Perhaps you could have seen it that way, but SEMELSBURGER did look like a Bambi on ice skates when he was getting up, so I'm not sure if it was. I think it was a fair stoppage. This is where the card kind of really took off for me. These boys really got after it. Flowers in particular came out of the traps like Jake had fucked his mother the night before. The game plan was obvious. He knew he had no cardio. He knew he had no camp. So he just thought, I'm going to go head first, head hunt, get Matthews out of there. And he did look dangerous in the very early part of that fight. Then Matthew started playing it started playing it pretty smartly by going for really nasty body kicks. The teeps in particular were really, really effective. You could see the Flowers were starting to wear down and his pace was starting to slow down. One part I really liked, though, was in the middle of the first round, it looked like Matthews hurt him, but then Flowers kind of played possum, pretended to be hurt, and then caught Matthews rushing in, gave him that little point. I thought that was quite clever. Then Matthews went for a ghillie, which I hate. That's first class white belt BJJ crap. But anyway, the second round, Matthews caught him to the body with another teep, and he caught him straight on the liver. Now, I did thought the heel did catch his balls coming down, which, is obviously an illegal shot, but the commentary made way too much out of it, like Flowers was cheating. You kind of knew at that point that even if he did get up, he was fucked, and that kind of proved to be the case. Matthews eventually got him back down again, locked in I think it was a Kimura triangle on the bottom, and then managed to find the rear naked choke. Credit to Flowers for coming up a weight class on short notice, and this was a fun one. Rogan wouldn't let it go with the kick talk at the end, though. I needed to turn the commentary off after this one. He's become such a wet wipe. Yeah, Ribiero kind of shit the bed on this one. I'm not sure what he was doing. He spent most of the first round standing around and kind of admiring KOPYLOV's work. He did land a couple of leg kicks, but, KOPYLOV just said, thanks very much. If you're just going to stare at me, I'm just going to pop you away at range and body kick you, and that's exactly what he did. He was literally piecing Ribiero up. For some reason, though, Ribiero kind of woke up with like 30 seconds to go in the first round and decided he had enough of getting slapped and, rushed forward, fired off some shots and actually hurt Kopylov for a second. I was hoping that might, even though I picked Kopylov, I was hoping that Ribiero might try to do that more going into the second. And he absolutely didn't, was just standing out there, watching him. And then Kopylov just had time to time it was kind of like a dummy right hand, and then came over with a left high kick, which is not the first time we would see that tonight. Dropped Ribiero, and yeah, he was done. Like, I feel like he kind of played into... Like, Kopylov did look good, but I felt like Ribiero kind of played into his hands. It was a nice highlight reel finish. It was well worth a watch if you didn't see it live. Then Kopylov called out Strickland, which was kind of a terrible call out, but you never know. They kind of... UFC's been kind of doing Sean dirty, so, you know, he could end up having to fight somebody 20 places below him again. Alright, this one was kind of hard to score. And it summarizes why these lower level or these lower weight classes can sometimes get a tough rap. This felt like a light sparring session. I picked CJ. I'm not going to go too much into this. Essentially, they were both just... Like, Salvador was kind of trying to pop at distance, while Vergara was being very elusive, trying to jump in with, you know, combinations and shots. But they both didn't really seem to be too intent on hurting each other. And that's what made this one so hard to... Well, it wasn't hard to score in the end, but it was... you know, it was robberyable for the simple fact that nobody really got hurt. What kind of edged it for me was in the last 2 rounds, I felt like Vergara was just more active. He was catching him more, and that Salvador started kind of showing off and getting a little bit impatient in there. And I felt that visually, that wasn't a very good look for him. So yeah, I had CJ Vergara edge it 2-1, which is exactly how the judges score it. It wasn't the greatest fight to watch. Felt like a bit of a spar, as I said, but it is what it is. Salvador probably needs to be let go and to take his career more seriously. Alright, this was really impressive. BONFIM did exactly what I said he would. He didn't mess around. He didn't give Giles any time to settle. He basically grabbed him about 30-40 seconds into the first round, dumped him down really impressively, then transitioned on the ground, actually deciding to lock up a guillotine, which I really hate. But because they were both dry, and it was at the very start of the round, he was able to latch it in fairly easily, and Giles had no choice but to tap. This was a really, really easy win for BONFIM. Probably even easier than I was expecting. I don't think Giles is terrible or anything. But, yeah, this was far too easy for him. Shouldn't have been that easy. We were then treated to, like, the 7th Dustin Poirier fight promotion video of the evening, which just annoyed me. And it would kind of set me up for how I felt by the end of the card. But yeah, this was a decent one. Very impressive performance from BONFIM. It'll be interesting to see what he can do moving forward. Stop with the gillies, please. They don't really work most of the time. This fight was very goofy. I said Chiesa is a horrible striker, and there was so much he did wrong here. He was ducking his head down and randomly rolling, which is not a strategy I've really seen anyone do. He was stutter striking against a lengthy man, which I also thought was really retarded. He was shooting really obvious doubles in really bad cage positions. And you're doing that against a lengthy dude that can really scramble well. It's just not the game plan either. Now, while Chiesa really sucked in this one, Holland was equally excellent. He was going for knees up the middle, which I thought really, really worked well. But it was really his wrestling defense and managing to keep balance and stay on the feet that won the day here. He'd clearly done his homework. He lit him up on the feet where he could. Then as soon as he got an opening, he caught Chiesa in a DOS, a move that he's lost to before. So this was a great win for Holland, and the icing on the cake is that Chiesa took the gloves off. He didn't get a bye-bye speech, which was a nice cherry on top of that icing. Bye, Michael. We're not going to remember you in there, not for your fight in any way. We are obviously going to see him on the analyst's desk, which, to be fair, he's not that terrible. He's a bit annoying, but he kind of knows what he's talking about. But yeah, really nice win for Holland. He said he wants to go up to 185, which I really hope he doesn't do. Stay at 170, you've got real advantages there, and I'd like to see what you can do next. Probably going to be top 15 after this. All right, I was looking forward to this one, and to be fair to Tony Ferguson, he looked a lot improved. I said that the move back down to lightweight would improve his speed, that he'd look a little bit better, and he certainly did in the first part of that first round. Certainly for the first half. Bobby did crack him a couple of times, but Tony went for a takedown game, which was a really clever way to get respect. And then he started to go headhunting and managed to actually catch Green at the midpoint in the first and drop him. For me though, and the big problem I got with this sport, Green hit Ferguson with an eye poke slightly after that, and for me that really changed the momentum of the fight. It damaged Tony's eye, he lost his rhythm. Really, because of the damage that it had done, that's the situation where, even though it's your first defense, you need to have a point taken. It would have made that a 10-8 round, and then Tony could have been a bit more different in how he strategized for the rest of the fight. But because he'd obviously then wasn't sure if he'd won that round, he then loses the second by going for a very ill-advised Kimura roll on the bottom and just getting his head caved in with ground and pound. He doesn't have that strength anymore or that flexibility to lock up limbs on the ground, and it was a very poor choice. He then chose to do the same thing in the third round after starting really decently on the feet. I mean, Green was popping him off and was clearly winning the fight, but Ferguson looked respectable until he did that, and then he ended up getting choked unconscious, which was just a really unfortunate way to end it. The UFC needs to interfere. Ferguson shouldn't be fighting anymore, and I hope the UFC does something for him in terms of, you know, paying him off in some way, paying him out of his contract, but saying he can't compete elsewhere to get him out of the sport and ensuring that he doesn't fight again, because this man's going to end up being a serial killer or some shit when his brain is fully damaged. And I'm not even saying that to take the piss, like, we've already seen his behavior, you know, previously to this. He shouldn't be taking more damage. But no, decent fight. Ferguson showed some heart, looked a lot better than he did against Diaz, but yeah, we need to see him out of the sport now. Yeah, this was a fun one. Do you know what, yeah? When I saw Derek Lewis on the scales, and I saw he looked pretty shredded for the first time, you know, he had the abs coming on, I was thinking, damn, man, I've made the wrong pick here. But I didn't change it. And Jesus, man, I didn't expect him to do this either, though. He just ran across the octagon, landed a big knee up the middle, and down went the Lima. Lewis jumped on top, hit massive ground and pound, and the fight was rightfully called off. He then proceeded to take his shorts off. He was gyrating in his pants. I mean, it's become a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a meme at this point. But the man is a national treasure, and he's just naturally charming. And post-fight, he really didn't disappoint. Part of me thinks he should retire and end on a high. But if you can stay slimmed down like this and be used to deal with some of the bottom feeders that are coming up for some fun nights out and some slightly less stacked cards, he may get an unassailable KO record and end with a few more wins. This was very entertaining. Like, I enjoyed this fight for the 10 seconds that it lasted. But no, really nice to see Lewis back in the win column again. Alright, regardless of what happened in this one, I was really impressed with Alex. That first round when Jan forced the clinch, took Alex down, and he did so really easily and got the back, I was thinking, oh my god, this is over already. Massive credit to Alex. He stayed composed, fought the hands. He could have done better, like transitioning on the ground to escape and shift position. And DC really excellently highlighted that in terms of how you grab the hand and force your opponent to kind of shift over your body and to fall off the top of you. I think that's something he really needs to work on. But again, he has shown progress. He managed to fight the hands, survive getting choked out, made it to the end of the first round, and that was really, really important. Then when he got to the second, he continued to like leg kick away, was really hurting Jan's leg at this point, and you could see that Jan was gassing down a bit. Jan did manage to take him down again, but this time Alex managed to force it back up to the feet pretty quickly after that, and then started teeing off on Jan. He was hitting really hard shots to the body, hard shots to the head. Clearly won that round for me. Then in the third, again, they were both trading. I felt like Pereira was a lot more active. Again, he seemed to be growing into the fight more, whereas Jan was, even though they were both exchanging shots, it looked like Jan was, you know, puffing for air, whereas Pereira just looked like he was growing more and more into it. So I think from a visual standpoint, the judges really took notice of that. And that's really what ended up being it ended up being a split decision, actually, which I think was actually fair. You can make a case for Jan. The third was the deciding round. One judge gave it to Jan. I thought it was pretty clear. The takedown that he got at the end of the round didn't do anything, and Pereira was doing the more damaging strikes. This is good for the division, and I actually think this is a better win for Alex than just going out there and starching him. You know, he's proven he can mess around on the ground now. That he's got the cardio to deal with that. And yeah, you know, people are going to have to worry about more of this guy's game now. It's not just a case of if you can survive certain things, you're going to beat him. He's showing he's learning. And that's going to be scary for people he's facing next. All right, the big one. Two fighters with the most boring personalities on the mic, yet the most exciting in the cage. It's a no-brainer to me. Now, at this point, we'd had 11 fights, and we'd had 11 Poirier fight promos. I hate listening to this meathead's one-note rhetoric. If you've seen one interview with him, or one analysis of him, you've seen it all. I had picked him, and by this point, I just wanted to see him get beaten up. GAETHJE can be a pecan personality as well, but at least he talks a lot less. Now, this was a great fight while it lasted. We all knew it would be. First round was pretty back and forth. GAETHJE was landing leg kicks, which again we expected. Was showing great patience in there, which again we expected. He's shown that he doesn't overcommit anymore, but is still a pretty active striker. Poirier, on the other hand, was landing straight lefts at will and seemed to be doing really well. Like, his defense looks solid. You can always depend on that from him. His high guard is excellent. He blocks shots really well. He does take shots all the time, but he doesn't seem to put himself in situations where he's in too much danger. And I felt like the fight was kind of slowly moving into his domain. There was one thing I kind of noticed, though, quite a bit, was he had a constant need to reset his legs and kind of pull at his shorts, which would kind of stick into his legs. I think it was affecting his movement a little bit. But anyway, second round came, and it felt like anyone's fight, or that's what it could have been. And then out of nowhere, GAETHJE goes for a fake check right, very similar to what Leon Edwards did to Kamaru, when they actually mentioned that on the commentary, which I thought was interesting because it was exactly what I was thinking. Then flash head kick that caught Poirier right on the side of the head. He did partially block it and still went crashing down, which showed you how flush the kick was. This is worth rewatching. If you haven't seen this KO, watch it. The technique on it was beautiful. And even though the fight was like 6 minutes long, you know, it ended very early in the second, it felt like a long fight because of the technical kind of back and forth that was going through between the two of them. It felt longer than it was. Great win. I think Poirier, there's not really too much left for him. Might see him go up to welterweight. That might be something he can do. GAETHJE probably gets a title shot. Whether we all want to see it or not, he does deserve it. So yeah, beautiful head kick KO. Well done, Justin GAETHJE. And to be honest, I find Poirier fucking annoying. So yeah, didn't mind seeing this. Alright, so it took my record to 200 wins, 97 incorrect picks. Win percentage is still at 67%, which I can never seem to break free from. Next week we have Sandhagen versus Font, which is a nice fight. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to do the breakdown for that on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, for all of you who tuned in, I hope you enjoyed the card as much as I did. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of the week. And yeah, I'll see you again in a couple of days. And thanks as well to the people who are watching more consistently now. Those view counts are starting to go up, which is always nice to see. I'll catch you in a bit.